Hey y'all, it's Hope at Crafty Hope, and I am here because I'm going to do another altered playing card thing. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I just signed up for a swap, so I thought, hey, I'm gonna record it. So the theme for it is motivational and fairies related. So I've got my 3 playing cards I've got to alter, and I'm gonna gesso them with just some Liquitex gesso. And then I went through a bunch of stuff, and I'm not real sure. I only have to do 3, but I gathered all kinds of stuff. I found a single quote from a magazine that I like, and then I sorted through some of my magazine and book clippings, and I've got a couple little fairies here, but I also got like a little girl, and then I've got these printouts that most of them are from Dover, I think. And I got just a bunch of different people and wings and stuff, and I also stamped some things. These are actually flower petals from Stampendous, I think. But I thought they'd make perfect little wings if I cut them out, so I may actually stamp them on different paper and emboss them. I'm thinking on that. But I also found, and these I think were also, some of these 2 were from Stampendous. I found it Tuesday morning yesterday. These were at Hobby Lobby on clearance. I had this one for about 150 years. So just some different little fairy things. And this is a woman that I thought maybe I could try adding wings onto. So I'm not real sure yet what direction I'm going to go. Oh, and I also have some flowers here, because I thought if I folded one right or something, it might make a cute little skirt. So anyway, that's where I'm starting. First things first, I'm going to gesso my cards and then get down to business, I think. So we'll see what direction this takes. I may fast forward through some of this. I may talk. We'll see how it goes. So let's get to it.
To start this whole process, like I said, gessoed my cards to kind of prep them for anything I put on them. I wasn't real sure where I was going, so a good coat of gesso is a good way to start it. Now, I started doing it on my nonstick craft sheet, but that was making a mess, so I grabbed just a big sheet of sketch paper and threw that under there, because then I'll have painty paper after. Now, I cut out some of the fairy images I had originally stamped to try to figure out what I wanted to do, and then I decided to go in a completely different direction. So I took one of the fairies that I had previously stamped and grabbed some glittery gold embossing powder. Now, I liked that the gold gave it, I don't know, fairies to me are magical and sparkly, and so I thought that this glitter gold would really kind of convey that fun, glittery, sparkly effect. So I put that on there, and I cleaned my stamp pad with a wet wipe, because I don't like that sticky stuff to stay right there on my stamp pad. I don't want it to damage my stamps. Once I had the image embossed and raised and all pretty, from there, since it gives it that raised effect, it was a lot easier to color and kind of stay in the lines. And I grabbed my Inktense what are they, watercolor pencils, and they're great because once those are watercolored, they're more permanent than some other watercolor type things. So I just use those to color in my image, and just the inside of the image with the watercolor pencils, the Inktense actually, and I use my water brush to do it to give it a really exact surface. Once I had my whole fairy image colored in, I grabbed my Neo Color 2 and just kind of colored the background. And I was doing a red, yellow, green color in the background to give it kind of a sunsetty look. And I used a paintbrush there since I was trying not to be as exact and wanted to make sure I had plenty of water to blend those colors together. And so I got those all on there and colored and blended and made it all pretty. And you can see some of the glitter sparkle in there. And that's, oh, so magical. I love that. So once I got that all colored in, I cut out the shape on the from the paper and decided kind of where I wanted to place on the card, because the image was larger than my card. So I just traced it with a pencil and cut that shape out. I'm going to use a soft gel medium to glue that cardstock onto my card. And like I said, I had gessoed before, but I didn't know where I was going to go with it, so it's fine. And I glue that down, and I always kind of double check my glue, so I'll flip that up here in a second and add some more of the gel medium to glue it all down, and then trim the edges to get it exactly on the card. Once I've got it all trimmed and pretty, I take some archival ink in black and just kind of go around the outside edges to frame up the image and make it pop off of that card a little bit more. Now I'm using some Tim Holtz, what are they, like the chit chat stickers with the fun little quotes and everything, and I'm sticking those straight on there and outlining them with a black pen to make those pop. And from there, I'm absolutely done with that card, and it's beautiful. After that, I started on my second fairy card. And for it, I started with a yearbook image that I just photocopied and then fussy cut out. It's of just a girl in a dress. And I took those stamped petals that I decided were wings and fussy cut those out of that cardstock. I had stamped them on as well. And I decided, kind of where I wanted to place them. And again, I covered up all my gesso work by just gluing down a piece of paper. And this one is a jelly print that I had made. And I glued my card straight onto the jelly print and then just cut around it rather than tracing it on there, because I kind of didn't care exactly what the background was. I just wanted it to be just a kind of a colorful background, since the wings and the girl were both black and white. So again, I arranged those, and I pulled out some of those flowers that I had in that jar and picked out two of them and folded them in half, deciding that I was going to just put them together to make a skirt. And I started by trying to sew them together with some embroidery floss, but I just really wasn't having a good time with that. So I instead glued them together with some gel medium, again folded over on top of one another, and let them dry. I took out a flourishy kind of stamp and just braided on some gold paint. Now this was just to kind of give it a little sparkle. I like the sparkle for the fairy stuff, and I sprayed on a couple of different kinds of spray inks, again to give a little more sparkle. All of these had either a metallic or glittery tone to them, because I wanted to have that fairy pixie dust kind of thing going on. And again, I fiddled with where the wing placement was and used a Yoo-hoo glue stick to just glue the wings on first onto the back of the girl and let that dry, and then grabbed some stickles in kind of a teal blue. But first I glued my girl image down, her wings and everything, making sure it was all secure, and then I glued down the fairy skirt, the flower skirt, with some just plain old tacky glue. Once everything was glued down, I took the stickles and added little touches of glittery fun to both her wings and onto the skirt, just giving some highlights to make her sparkle, and let that all pop up. And then again, I took out those Tim Holtz Chit Chat stickers, picked an image, I picked a saying and put that on there. Using a Stabilo all pencil, I went around the outside of the image to frame it up and used a paintbrush to accent that, to get that to blend kind of in there with some water. And I checked it and kind of went over and blended it some more. And I took a Jelly Roll Stardust pen that has a bit of glitter to it and went around the outside of those words in the image. And that was it. So for this third card, I did a lot more fiddling than I did with the other two. And I kept it in here just so you can see that not always your first intentions end up how you want. So I took the lady image that I had originally stamped and left and cut her out, and then I had some butterfly wings. I think they're from Dover Publishing, and I cut out all kinds of different butterfly wings and cut them and fiddled and played, trying to find the ones I thought would really work best for this card. And I don't even know how many different sets of butterfly wings I cut out, and I cut them out and I cut them in half, and I did cut them in fourths, and I played with them. And I said, okay, let me just go for this. So I fussy cut my stamped girl image, and fussy cut out some of the wings I thought I was going to use, and thought is the imperative word right here. And I thought, okay, that's going to work. That's great. So I had a little more gesso to the card to get it, as white as possible, and let that dry. And while it dried, I pulled out some of my watercolors. Actually, I pulled out some Bria Reese sparkle inks and put those to the side, but then pulled out my watercolors to color the image of the woman. And I used some green paint and just watercolored her dress a bit, adding some different colors, and colored her body a little bit, and looked at the wings again, and then pulled out some more and decided I wanted to add. I was trying to get her dress to match a little bit of the wings, and added a couple different colors and blended them and played and, pulled out more of these wings. Like I said, I fiddled far too much with this. So since I wasn't still sure about the girl, I decided to go ahead and move on to what I want to do with the card. So I added those Bria Reese inks on there and sprayed a little water and added more inks and let it drip and pool and blend. And I'm using primary colors here. I like that because they blend so beautifully together and give you different kinds of shading. So I let those kind of go on there, and I blended them together so all the white was covered up, and dried them completely before I tried to put my girl image back on. Now, here I decided those wings were just not going to work for me. So I put them aside again and decided to add more to the card. And I got some black, just acrylic paint, and used a top of a dishwasher detergent lid to add a couple different sizes of black circles on there, adding some interest to the back of that card. And again, I'm fiddling with that girl. So I decided to go back to my petal stamps and cut those out. Now, I ended up, cutting those into more of a shape that I like, because at first I thought they were just far too large. And I got them kind of angled at the edges so that they would fit on her back better. So it looked like it was coming more out of her shoulder blades, like I think fairies do, my image of a fairy anyway. And so then I used the same watercolors that I used on her dress to color the image so that her wings would match her dress. And I thought, oh, that's perfect, So those finally get glued down with a Yoo-hoo glue stick. And let's see here, they'll finally get glued down here eventually. So I glue those down just the way I want them, and they're a bit big, so I did fold over the wing that was too big just to keep it cohesive on the card. And I outlined the whole girl with a Stabilo all pencil and then wet a paintbrush to get her to kind of pop a little bit off of that card some. And after that, I used some more of, no, I used a white Stabilo pencil, not Stabilo, Signo, a white Signo pen to just give her some white accents on there. And I took more of those Tim Holtz words and found a statement that worked really well with her. And then I took a Pit pen and went over the word and then around the card to frame it. And I was finally done with that card.
So hey, at the beginning of the video, I said that the stamps were by Stampendous. Well, this little girl was indeed Stampendous, but the petals that I used for these two as wings are Inka Dinka Doo by EK Success Brands. So I just wanted to clear that up before I went any further, because that was my mistake. I didn't really look at them. So anyway, those are some kind of petal stamps, and they're amazing, and I really liked them as wings. So that worked out. I hope you like this, and if you did, like, subscribe, all those things. And I'm going to give you some close-up pictures of these, and let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions or comments or anything. Thanks so much. Bye.